Yay. Guys, if you're listening to us, I'm just waiting for YouTube. And sometimes you can see me and I can't see what's going on with YouTube yet. But let's see, just a second. I think we are live. Yeah, I can see from my side that we're live now. So good morning, afternoon, evening. I don't know what time you're watching this. So it's me and Amanda back again. And this is feeling better and better every day that we do this, and like we're just having a little chat with Amanda. It feels more and more exciting, and that proves that we're in the right direction. I think it's like, isn't it, Amanda? It feels really good. I'm just gonna do my usual little intro and I'll pass the word to Amanda in a second as well, and of course I'm gonna kind of jump in whenever it feels good in there. There was something that happened yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday after the episode, like Amanda shared something with me, and then she was like, "It feels good to share this with the guys as well, and it feels good because we're creating this authentic, open space, and being vulnerable as well, and like." And I believe a lot, and I don't know if you read Brene Brown. Have you read or heard of Brene Brown? Is the author of like the talking about vulnerability and everything else. To be honest, I haven't read her books. I've seen, I think, one of her TED Talks or two of her TED Talks, and she talks about how much, vulnerability is important. And I think she talks about the duality of it, where courage, it has the same characteristics as the vulnerability. And it's a beautiful thing. Anyway, so we're going to be a little bit more vulnerable today and share something that happened with Amanda yesterday. And I feel it happens to us all the time. We have like little words that someone say that can sometimes triggers us, and we don't know where they come from. We don't know how did we get to that moment where we're like, we kind of drop into fear, for example, or drop into despair, or sometimes we get into anger or to frustration, or and sometimes it's just a little word. And then just sharing something that I had this morning when I was doing my meditation, um, and it's something that came from one of the books that I just read a couple of weeks ago. It was, I think, Atomic Habits from James Clear. And he explains how much our vision, how much we absorb it unconsciously. And then and we don't know why something trigger, something in ourselves. Sometimes you see something or you don't even see it kind of consciously, but that triggers in yourself. And so what we're going to do today is like share what Amanda done when something triggers us. So what do we do with that? And the beauty of it, without spoiling out too much as well, it's like we don't need to go so much. I know, especially if we're in the self-development world and you've been doing therapy and everything else, sometimes we go like, oh, if something triggered, we have to go deep and down and go back into the past and, and parents and everything else. And I'm not saying that those things are wrong. However, there are easy ways as well that we can absorb and transmute. And I love that we're using the idea of like the alchemy, because you can alchemize that trigger into something nice as well. So with me talking to you, I'll pass on to Amanda there. Let's go.
Good morning, Jeannie. Good morning, everybody that's listening, whether it's live or recorded. So lovely to have you here with us. And I love everything you say, and I'm conscious I'm constantly saying I love this because I do. And I think the thing we're trying to create here as well is a real transparency, a real openness, because there are no new fears. There are no subconscious fearful beliefs. They're all based on, all fears, if you break them down, come down to, am I safe? Am I worthy? Do I matter? Am I enough? Am I valuable? Am I heard? Am I loved? They come down to the same thing about feeling safe. So we do have our own individual subconscious minds, don't we? But really, there's a collective consciousness that we're all connected to. So some experiences can feel like they're very personal and develop a very personal fear. But we have our ancestral fears that we've talked about coming down through our epigenetics, through our genes and DNA, through our ancestral lineage, which is our families coming down. and also the society that we live in. But we live in such a global community now that what's happening halfway across the world, we're seeing and feeling as well, which is a really beautiful thing. So Junior mentioned the word vulnerability, and I love this because the flip side of vulnerability is the courage, isn't it, to be authentic and feel this and show it, and not feel, well, I'm bad because I had that. So we talked about this thing yesterday that happened, and Junior's, I love the way you introduced this, and I love you talking about the TED Talk and the person you listened to, because when you and I started talking about doing this, there was just such a feeling of, felt inspirational. It felt like we're both contributing to global healing, personal healing, global healing, family healing. So I just felt very inspired, and as Junior shared his inspiration as well, we were just, it feels beautiful to do this. It's going to unfold. There's a light and higher consciousness that's flowing through this. We both have different personalities, so it was all great. And so any fears about it not succeeding or not getting subscribers hadn't really entered my mind. It was just this just feels really aligned, and it feels exciting, but it feels calm, it feels peaceful, it feels loving, it feels joyful, all those wonderful emotions that it's our higher self experiencing them. So sharing what we're doing with someone that I really love, and this person has no maliciousness at all, but this person said to me, "That's really brave of you." And I sort of said, "Oh, I knew she meant it as a compliment." I said, "Oh, that's really kind of you. Thank you." I said, "It doesn't feel brave. It just feels really aligned." And they started to share what felt brave. They were saying things like, "You're going live, so anything you're saying is out there. There's no editing. And every morning, like, you've just got up and your face is live on the screen. Everyone can see you." And I was sort of nodding I hadn't really thought about this. Okay. And then the conversation moved on, and I knew she meant it as a compliment. And Junie was great, saying the triggers of how compliments can trigger us. So I was sort of, oh, that's really lovely. And I love this person. There was no malicious intent at all. But as the day unfolded, I started to get little contractions around this. And I started to think, oh, but what if? What if nobody listens? And what if we don't get any subscribers? And what if this just fades into dust? And I, as Junior and I was saying, because we've been doing this for so long now, I felt that contraction really quickly. So it hadn't got a huge momentum. I could feel it really quickly, and I knew what to do. So as soon as I could, which was pretty quickly, I did my breathing. I slowed down. I took my attention into my body. I actually put my hand on my heart because I could feel, for me, that's often where the contraction is. But there was also a contraction in my throat because my voice was starting to get a little bit gravelly. So I knew there was healing happening here. And also in my higher stomach, in my solar plexus, which is our sense of self. So I thought, oh, okay, there's some healing coming on here. So as I just went into that space, that parasympathetic nervous system, open body, open awareness, I was vulnerable. I allowed myself to feel anything that was in there. And whatever it was, I could tell initially it didn't want me to look at it because it kept trying to distract me with thoughts. And I thought, okay, this is something that is quite deep-seated, it's quite ancient, it's quite old. So it's something that thinks it's keeping me safe. And it was sort of saying, I don't want you to look at this because if you keep exposing yourself, you are open to persecution, attack, rejection, abandonment, ridicule. And it was quite a surprise because I hadn't experienced any of this around what Jean and I are doing. So I just sat and lovingly held it. And so as I did that and that calmness came in that moment, all I could do was hold the contraction, hold the pain. And as I just sat and created that space around it and held it and loved it and said, it's okay, You're loved. Thank you for sharing this with me. I'm sorry I couldn't be here before now. I didn't know you were here, but thank you for using my emotion to tell me I'm here now. You're safe. Tell me how you're feeling. And the contraction stayed, and I knew it was just okay to just sit and hold that contraction. I didn't need to fight it, didn't need to fix it, I didn't need to push away from it, I didn't need to banish it. It was something that really needed to be held, heard, and healed. And as I just sat and held it, knowing there was nothing to do other than hold it, it started to beautifully lift. And as it lifted, I could then connect to the maybe subconscious patterning that was going on behind it. And I could access this little part of me that was quite scared and sort of said, and I knew it was an ancient energy. I knew it wasn't just mine. I knew it was a collective because of the depth and magnitude of it. It was quite an ancestral one. And she just said, you're safe not being seen. It's safe not to be seen, because when you're maybe in my past lives, we look at people before that have been considered as heretics, religious heretics, when they've spoken aloud, they've said things, they've put themselves out there. And I could just lovingly listen to her. And I brought her down into my heart, into my safe space, my higher self. And I'm going to share here when I connect to my higher self. She's called Serafina. She is me. She's my higher self, but she's really loving. She's quite celestial. There's a safe space there with her. And there's such a desire to heal. And when she came into this space, all the energies around me, my heart just enclosed her and loved her and said, you're safe, sweetheart. And then as she felt safe in that space again, as she come out of that separate place in the head, and I said, remember who you are. Remember the consciousness that you came from. And she started to remember that she'd come home again. She wasn't out there in the wilderness trying to survive. She'd come back home into my heart, my consciousness, my higher self, the universal love and energies that are there for her. And I could feel she started to relax. And in my mind, there was a little scene playing out of this sort of ancient child. I mean, she was wearing quite old clothing, almost medieval clothing. So I don't want to go into the past lives that were maybe linked with that, because that's going to be that's quite a long one. But there were lots of experience that she'd experienced that needed to be healed. And we could say, you're safe now. Now is the time to really share your truth. And as Gina said yesterday, I'm a bit of a duality. I love the scientific understanding, but I have a very deeply spiritual part of me as well. And we're saying to her, you are an angel that's come to earth to heal. And in that moment, the just relief flooded through me. She felt safe. We then said, what else do you need? And she said, I just want to be here in your heart. And she said, I'm going to keep here with you. We said, we don't want you to go. And she felt really safe. And she said, I am still going to make you aware there's a situation you need to be aware of that's potentially dangerous, but it won't bring up fear. It'll just make you bring out a discernment. Because, you know, I could say, I have love and light, so I'm going to walk down a darkened alley where I know there's drug users. My discernment would say, bless them, they're in such a lost and desperate place. They probably don't have any awareness to think, if I attack that woman and mug her, that's going to hurt her. All they can think about is the absolute desperation to escape from their pain and get drugs. So my discernment is, I can see where something is potentially dangerous, not good for me, but it's not a judgment or a fear. And then they showed me a deer in the woods who, deer are very alert, but they're on the food chain. And the deer is very graceful. She's very wise. She's very open. And her ears are pricked, but there isn't adrenaline or fear coursing through her body. She's very calm in that place of awareness. But should she pick up on a danger, again, it's a very present, physical, real danger, isn't it? If she hears the wolf come in, she needs to release the adrenaline and the cortisol to run. But what we're realizing is a lot of our fears aren't real present dangers. They're past or future dangers that our minds got hold of, so they just keep running. And then what was beautiful, what shared, what came through in even deeper understanding is being very empathic. And we all have various levels of being empathic. I was then also empathing this wonderful person's fears. This person works in an industry where you are very judged on what you look like. Very judged. Judged on what you look like, your personality, what you say. So I realized, gosh, isn't this beautiful? Because without knowing it, I instantly assumed it was all mine, but I was healing and clearing what this beautiful person was feeling. And then I realized, yes, we come down to the root of everything. It's a collective consciousness. And everything we heal and clear, we're healing and clearing for everybody else. And being very empathic, which is something I know Junior and I are going to talk about more and more. It can be confusing because you can walk into a room and think, I felt really happy and had contented harmony, peaceful resolution. I was in a real heart-centered place. And I walked into this room or I'm talking to this person, I'm suddenly feeling all sorts of contractions and fears and what's going on. And I know that's something, I'm not going to do that anymore today, but I think that's another thing Junior and I are going to share about. If you feel a contraction, that's the beautiful thing of feeling it as soon as you can. And we're all healing this together. So that's why I think it's beautiful that Junior was saying about how words trigger us. So for me, the word brave also meant, brave means standing up in your light and your truth. But brave would also have suggested me into the past that there's something dark and scary that you're having to be brave against. So I think also them using the word brave was a bit of a childhood trigger of, well, okay, well, what is dangerous then I'm having to stand up and fight against? And also the word love, briefly tune into this as well. I've worked with people before who, and myself, who've suffered abuse, and the person that's abusing you has used the word love. So we can equate the word love with, well, it's abuse, it's painful. The word love's quite a difficult thing. And if you're not worthy, if you say to your subconscious in that beautiful, calm, open place, that theta brainwave where we can change our subconscious patterns by consciously saying the words our subconscious mind needs to hear, love might feel quite alien to it. But the more it hears it from that calm, safe space, we can reprogram our subconscious. And it might be like, I wish I felt more loved. I mean, Matt Kahn does phenomenal work on all this. I mean, please check out Matt Kahn. He is phenomenal, especially if you're very an empathic person. But it's understanding that even if a positive, healthy word feels very alien, the more our subconscious hears it, especially from that calm place where theta brainwaves, it feels safe hearing the new. Brains are very plastic. We change a belief. So I can say the words now, oh, you're so loved. I love you. You matter so much. You have so much value. You're so beautiful. And my subconscious now believes that. Whereas years ago, it would have just had a meltdown, even believing any of that. And so that's why thank you so much, Junior, and anyone that's listening for letting me share that. That was quite humbling to me to share something like that with you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much for, first of all, for being so, open and honest. And again, I want you guys just to pay attention. This is being brave. Do you see what I mean? Vulnerability, and it's so interesting, like how those two things so connected to each other. Do you see in terms of vulnerability and bravery in there?
Yeah.
I didn't want to disturb too much in terms of like what you were saying earlier, but there's so many good stuff that I hear from what you're sharing. I mean, the first thing that I would like to highlight is like the words that we hear, they, although someone might have a well good meaning, like, Amanda's friend, of saying, wow, how brave you are. And then the interpretation of us or the meaning that we have inside of ourselves because of our life experience, it could be past lives or, collective. It doesn't, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where it came from, it's there. And it creates, and the second word that I want to highlight that I'm going to use a few times here is contraction. And I really would love to bring your attention because sometimes we we're not aware of these contractions or these feelings or these reactions that our body is like talking about it. We spoke about this yesterday. We spoke in previous episodes. We're definitely going to speak more about it.
Absolutely.
It's like paying attention how much our body is like signing to us when something can be, digested, can be, transformed, can be alchemized. I would say, like I was telling Amanda just before we started, I love that we create this as the alchemy chat because it is alchemizing, what felt like a contraction into something light, into something that is, can be shared now and can be transformed. It can be, a good thing, can turn, let's say, lead
Yeah.
into gold, can turn light, like darkness into light, and so on. So
And just leading on to that, and I love the way you bring things together. Thank you. And the way you see things, and you just beautifully prompted me to just say that what happened, I think I shared this with Junior, what happened in the end, all the reasons for doing this, all the inspiration, it came in even stronger. Like the excitement to sit down and do this was clearer, cleaner. I felt even more aligned. There was more light to shine through. So, in fact, I was so thankful to this beautiful person who I adore that said this to me, because although it caused me contraction, I was able to heal that and transcend it and return it to life force and bring in even more of the actually what is behind your reasons for doing this. And it is so, made me realize it is so pure,
yeah.
and the self-doubt was just beautifully returned to source. And I sent healing to the friend as well, and it's allowed us to have this conversation today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for, for sharing. And again, the word brave, literally it transformed into even more bravery, into even more light, and into even more passion to what we're creating here. And there is like that quote that they say, what we resist persists. It's like if we're resisting, we go away, and then, what I mean, try not to go there, or like try to ignore the contractions in terms of like, okay, what can I do to numb that? You see, can I distract my mind? And our mind will do whatever it takes as well to take us outside of that place as possible. Like Amanda was just sharing, it would bring lots of thoughts. It will kind of, okay, can I go to food, for example, comfort? Can I go for, I don't know, to watch something on TV? Can I go, I don't know, do something else to get me out of that
Yeah.
place where you can feel? And I love how, like, and like the description that Amanda put it in there as well, of like where she felt. I felt it in my heart or in my chest. Do you see what I mean? I felt it in my throat. I felt into my belly and into my stomach. And we all can have different places where we can feel it, but it's just
Mhm.
about paying attention. So if someone said something, or you've seen something, or you got an email, or you got a message, I don't know how many times I think I think so many people can relate with this as well,
Yeah.
that you pick up your phone and then there's a message and there is something that kind of goes, whoa, and
Yeah.
you don't even know what's in there or something. Sometimes you saw a name of someone or a company, for example,
Yeah.
or you get a letter from HMRC, for example, and you're like, oh my god, and then goes all that rush in your body. It's just kind of feeling those things that are coming there. There's a third point that I could hear from what Amanda shared in here. It's how I know some of us here will be, in the spiritual side, and you can bring your guides, and you can bring, the entities that we might have in our head, and everything else.
Mhm.
But there are, like, and I love the duality that we just spoke about, the spirituality and the science, and the reality in there.
Yeah.
And we know the power of visualization and how much that can change. Our mind cannot distinguish between reality and what we're creating in our mind in terms of imagination as well. Even if you're not spiritual, if you don't believe, let's say, in past lives or anything else,
Yeah.
it's scientifically proven that if you do a visualization and you imagine, for example, that I had a third person here, or a god like something, or a spirit like, or a angel like, and everything else, and you can feel the power from that source that comes through you. It's a physiology that changes in your body, and you feel more empowered to deal with whatever you're doing in that way.
Oh, I love that, Julie, because it's that feeling of, again, that little contracted thought felt alone.
Yeah.
It's me against the world. And then when brought into my heart, and then, yeah, I did use visualization because I knew that it was helping those little patterns in my brain to understand she's not alone, and she is supported, she is loved, she does have this faith and value in her. She doesn't need to fight anything anymore. And I love the way you're saying about the contraction, because when we're not taught, I certainly wasn't taught to do any of this as a child. I mean, I had an amazing dad that, as I look back, yeah, he did, because he taught me the love of nature and what being in nature felt like. But often a contraction can just feel very normal to us, and we don't even know we're in contraction all the time. There's just a general feeling of bleh, but it becomes normal. And this is why doing the slowing down, the breathing, going into our bodies, going into that place of calm, saying the words that make us feel space and feel love and safe, and even using our imagination to think of, there might be a family member that even has passed away, that when we think about them, I felt really safe with them. I felt very loved with them. And it brings that, so I'm loved. We always bring it back to ourselves as well. And it helps you to feel the difference between when I'm in that parasympathetic theta brainwave space that was calm and slowed down, um, peaceful resolution, contented harmony, no matter what's going on around me. When a contraction does come in, you really notice it really quickly. And because it maybe doesn't gain momentum, you're able to feel it. And I must admit, when it finally came through, as Junie was saying as well, as I sat down to hold that pain, you really clocked it, because my go-to was, there's some quite nice chocolate biscuits that they really remember. And I had to really sit and hold that space, because it was really defending that pattern of, you can't let this pattern go because it keeps you safe. And for me, the past lives came, there's all sorts of past lives of persecution, and even in this life, people, they get persecuted for speaking their truth, but it was really strong. So I knew that by sitting there and holding that space, and I wasn't on my own, there was a beautiful healing and clearing that was going on with this part of me wanted to be held, it wanted to be nurtured. And it was okay that
I,
it
I
showed, it was good, it showed itself.
Sure, and I love, there's a fourth point that I wanted to highlight in here. It's like this separation between who we are and creating another identity. For example, if you look at what Amanda done here, and consciously, subconsciously, however, like, oh, there is a part of me, or there is a past life of me. There is, do you see, you separate from yourself, which is beautiful, and then you can bring in, and I'm talking, even though it's happening all in terms of in our head, even if you're like very kind of scientific and everything else in terms of imagination, that helps to create a space in your body, a space in your mind, where you can, yeah, hug that other person, help, that person, and like, how can I help you? How can you can have that conversation, you can have that dialogue, you can listen. Remember when we spoke in one of the episodes before, where we're truly listening to the person in front of us, we can truly listen to that identity, the aspect of us that is in our mind, and we
Yeah.
can like, okay, what would you like? And like Amanda beautifully put it, like, sweetheart, what do you want to talk? Do you see what I mean? How can I listen to you? So you can listen to that other part of you, that other identity that we created in here, and help us. And the other thing that I want to bring up as well, it's like, I spoke to Lou Madsen, he's another friend of mine, and I spoke about this chat, and we're probably going to have a chat together one day as well. And she beautifully put it out there. If we're dealing with something that feels really heavy, really difficult, for example, on your own, and like, let's say you got a trigger from something, could be someone, from something you've seen, or I don't know, a message, an email, whatever, and then it may feel very hard when you're there on that space with yourself, and then so on, you can call in other identities or other entities, however you call it, and whatever it is that you believe to have the power to support you in that sense. even on, I think the Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, he mentions, I don't know if, did you ever read Think and Grow Rich, Amanda?
I've heard a lot.
Yeah. There is even on that book, for example, where he talks about a mastermind, and then he used to talk like you get to have, people around you, and he used to do a mastermind in his mind. He would bring, people that he thought that was powerful, that knew how to do business and how to make money and everything else, and they almost like a council of people around in your mind, counseling you up and helping you the same way we can do. And I know that we have different beliefs, and we have people that that believe in angels, that believe in past lives. There are others that don't believe on anything. There are others that will believe in a specific God, Jesus, whatever name that will come up. You can call that thing, that part of you that you believe that can assist you in that moment, to
Yeah.
assist you, in like, yeah.
I love that because I love the fact you deepen that, because that's a huge thing that I must admit I use as well. Because we are a collective consciousness. If there's a knowledge or a truth or an idea out there, we can draw it to us on a a collective consciousness way, so we can draw understanding too. So I want some clarity on this, and I think when I went up, opened up into my frontal cortex, that's where we do receive inspiration, higher guidance, ideas. So as that opened up for me, that's where, as you beautifully said, that's where my counsel came in. So there are energies and people that passed away, um, all sorts that I have, that I know when they come in for me, the things they say to me, they really resonate, they really align me, and they give me clarity and ideas. And sometimes it's new ideas,
Yeah.
because we're evolving. So as we heal and clear things that are causing contractions and keeping us in sort of the old, we know that as we want to evolve and heal and clear, we don't just stay at, oh, so once we've healed and cleared, what do we do then? Because we spent a long time healing, clearing. That's the amazing journey. Once we've healed and cleared, that's where we're open to the creativity, the new ideas, and also it's also sort of technical ideas, how to do things, bringing in medical understanding, bringing almost the magic of co-creation. So how can I create them in a pure, conscious, loving way? Yeah, how will this thing, if I make it come into my being, my physical experience, what do I think that will feel like? So once the healing and clearing, once we've moved beyond as a species, the healing and clearing that we're very involved in now, it's very important we're all doing this now. The next stage is the magic. That's where that's the magic of receiving the ideas, the understandings, the inspirations, the creativity.
Amazing, amazing, Mother. Well, I'm not just watching the time again, and I just want to say, guys, we're definitely going to talk more about this in the future. Yeah, again, I just want to share my appreciation to Amanda to share what she shared today. I feel, even if you just watch this episode, I think there's so much good stuff in here. I mean, from my perspective, and I feel there's so much more that we're going to share anyway. But like, just if you have this perception of like getting connected when there is a trigger that comes through, then what you can do, kind of how you can feel it in yourself, how you can actually help yourself by separating you from the thought in that way, and also how you can call some help from your even subconscious mind, or if you want to go more spiritual, it doesn't matter how you believe it to be, but call that help in, and it can help you and assist you, and so on. You can create that council of uh, identities, help people, angels, whichever it is that you want to call in there. And then again, at the end of that, you can transform and you can create something new. You can have inspiration, you can have creativity. As I said, this episode would not have happened if what happened to Amanda just happened like a couple of days ago. So
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And as we heal and clear, even now I can feel there's just even more light within me. And we're all unique as well. So we're not saying we're going to blend into this sort of one blob of, no, life wants us to be physically unique when we're being expressed physically. So And that's the lovely thing. It's giving me from that deep healing yesterday even more understanding, clarity, realization of who I am, what my deeper purpose is, why I'm here, what my values and gifts are, why I've maybe been like I have in the past. I mean, it was just constant yesterday, the unraveling and unpacking that was happening for me yesterday, as I kept just going deeper and deeper and deeper on an energetic level. The purity that was the purity, the innocence, the love, the purpose, the desire, it was all there underneath what I thought was my truth, and it those fears weren't. And that's what we were all so deliciously healing and clearing together, aren't we?
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. So, guys, I just want to say a massive thank you for being here again. Thank you for watching this, being live or being, on the recording. As always, there will be a link below if you want to, connect with us a bit deeper. There is, some stuff that we're going to be creating. So follow the link. And if you would like to hear more from this, yeah, subscribe. To me, there is a subscribe, put the notifications on if it feels good for you. If there is anything that you want to share with us, please use the comments. You can, if there's something that triggered you, maybe, do you see what I mean? If there's something that actually, wow, there's a little aha moment, if there is a question that came up, and then we're going to look into it. And then the future episodes, we're going to come back to you as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you very much. Lots of love. Bye bye.
Bye.